Hi and welcome to another story, and today we have part 2 of Ned and the Chocolate Cheats by Mark Jarvis. Starting and continuing from chapter 3, Send Me a Text, page 15. "Welcome to Ballhall," shouted the tour guide warmly, greeting the tourists as they stepped from the bobbing ferry into the wooden slats of the landing stage. "Welcome to the home of the famous Chocolate Hills and the beautiful tarsier monkey." The small group of visitors were a variety of ages, animals and nationalities. They had a range of luggage with them. The tourists trundled, hobbled or strode jauntily from the wooden pier onto the firm, dry, earthy patch of land. The tour guide stood waiting for them. "Hey guys, my name is Christian," he said in an American accent, his voice as loud as his eye-wateringly bright patterned shirt. The tourists now stood around him, their bags resting on the earth or on tufts of grass in the clearing. Christian continued, "Bohol is one of the many beautiful islands of the Philippines. You will be able to see fabulous tropical plants and wildlife, and if you're very lucky, you'll be able to see our famous and endangered beautiful little Bohol monkeys, called tarsiers." There were a few cheers from the younger members of the party and some smiles from the adults accompanying them. "Yeah, guys," smiled Christian, "so I will now take you to your fabulous hotel. If you all just follow me this way." In a leafy, shady tree just overlooking the spot where the group came ashore, a little tarsier watched the tourists. Being nocturnal, he was now feeling very sleepy in the sunlight of midday. The tarsier's huge eyes blinked slowly, and he heard the chatter of the visitors for a long time as they walked away. They soon left him in his lofty spot, quiet again. He gripped the branch that he was sitting on, and his furry arm now reached behind him for his smartphone, wedged into a fork in the branches. The tarsier's head turned 180 degrees around as he again read the text message he had received. "Party of 25 tourists arriving at 12 p.m. today," it said. Holding the phone with his other foot, he wrote a text reply, his long fingers tapping over the keys. "They're here now. Thanks for info, homie. I'll get back to you." It was very tiring being a tough criminal mastermind. It was way past his bedtime. Anyway, little tarsiers need plenty of sleep, and this little tarsier needed to dream of his next dastardly scheme. Chapter 4. Vomit. I sniffed at the smell of wee that was low down on the leg of the park bench on which my person sat. He leaned back with his arms folded and his eyes closed, enjoying the winter sunshine. "What are you doing, Ned?" he asked. "You've been sniffing at that spot for ages now." "Yes, hang on," I replied between sniffs. "What you people don't get is that there is a lot of information in these smells." I stopped sniffing and jumped up next to him. "You see," I continued, in a flurry of little white hairs that I shook out before I settled down, "the smell is different. It's quite fresh, but it is very sweet, almost chocolatey. The most unusual thing is, whoever did it is not a well dog. You can tell a lot by a smell, and I just thought you were doing disgusting dog things. How fresh do you think it is?" Jeff inquired, not moving from his sun-worshipping position. "Very fresh," I replied firmly. "Weed today, recently." So, that dog could still be here in the park. I was already off the bench and sniffing for smells. I saw what Jeff was suggesting. They might still be here. "Have you seen a dog that smells chocolatey?" I asked a springy whippet as she skipped past with her person. "You said that the little cute pug we saw smelt funny," offered her person helpfully, bending down to straighten the whippet's fancy leather collar. "Get off. Don't fuss," shrugged the whippet. "Yes, he did smell funny, but that's because the pug's person had sprayed him with that awful doggy perfume." "Shame," I said. "It's just not right, is it? Well, thanks for your help." She trotted on in her direction, and I in mine. I stopped and sniffed the air near an area of bushes. There was that smell again, but this time it was stronger and mixed with a sickly aroma. Then I heard it, a soft, dismal groan from inside the bush. I decided to go in and investigate. I pushed the branches aside with my strong nose and forced my way through twigs and brambles. I stopped still. There was that sound again, but a lot louder. I was going in the right direction. I burst through into a small clearing. There was a big German shepherd, looking most bedraggled. He was lying on his side by a pile of his own sick. "Oh," he groaned. "Help!" I rushed over, quickly taking in the sick had glittery silver bits in it. The poor dog had obviously been here for a couple of days. "My goodness," I cried. Stay here," I said stupidly. I'll go and get help." I left the dog groaning and rushed back out of the path that I had forged through the bushes. I ran to my person. Jeff was still sitting on the bench with his arms folded and his eyes closed, but this time he was snoring. I jumped up beside him again and poked my nose under his arm to wake him. What is it?" He put his hand down onto the bench and turned to me. "Quick," I panted. "I found the funny-smelling dog, and he's not well. Come quick, this looks bad." Jeff grumbled a bit and slowly got to his feet. "Okay, lead the way," he said. I scampered ahead across the grass, stopping and turning now and again so that my person could catch up. "It's all right for you," he puffed. "You have four-wheel drive." "Come on, slow coach," I called. "We're nearly there." I easily pushed through the bushes again, now that I knew my way. Jeff was not quite as quick, having to brush aside tangled branches and twigs. Eventually we both reached the clearing. The funny-smelling dog was still there, lying on his side and groaning. "Oh dear," exclaimed Jeff, kneeling down beside the distressed German Shepherd. "You don't look at all well, poor thing. I think I'm going to have to try and carry you to our vets. I bet they will have you as right as rain in no time." "No," gasped the funny-smelling dog. "No vets, please." He gasped his pleas from the ground, barely lifting his head. "They'll ask questions, and then the police will be involved. It can't happen. Oh." "Well, you feel cold," observed Jeff, laying his hands on the German Shepherd's head and side. "And I'm not a vet, so you need some expert help. Wait a minute. What's that silvery stuff in your sick?" Jeff was staring at the sick, which was all around the ill dog. "That looks like bits of tin foil. Quite a lot of it, too." "Yes," I said, standing next to him and taking a sniff at the German Shepherd and then the sick. "I have a theory. Sweet smell, ill dog, sick in tin foil. Have you been eating a bar of chocolate with a wrapper still on it?" The sick dog said nothing at first. He just groaned again. Then he said, "Not just one. Lots of bars. Different sorts of chocolates. And eating them very quickly. I had to complete my mission and to prove that I'm a true believer." "Believer in what?" Jeff and I both exclaimed. "Surely you know that chocolate is poisonous for dogs," I added. The German Shepherd paused again, maybe for dramatic effect. "A believer in Gabba," he said at last with great solemnity. "The great Gabba, the one true spirit that will save animals from the evil of humans." "Wow," I said at last, feeling very surprised. "Well, perhaps he will pay your vet bills too. Can you lift him, evil human?" I joked with my person. "You can tell us more on the way to the vets," I said to the dog. Jeff crouched and wriggled his hands under the German Shepherd until he was able to cradle him in his arms. He stood up straight again. "By the way, what's your name?" he asked, as he carefully pushed backwards out of the bushes and into the park. "Rufus," the dog replied quietly. "Well, Rufus," I said as I walked beside them, "I think I've got a few questions for you." We eventually got Rufus home and into the car. He lay on the back seat under a blanket and sat up next to him. "Let me get this straight," I said. "You are telling us that this great Gabba, whom you never met, sent his messenger to tell you that by breaking into a newsagent's with your gang and eating all of the chocolate, you are doing his work to save animals?" "Yes," Rufus replied. He was feeling a little better now that Jeff had given him a drink. He was feeling warmer too, under an old green blanket that we kept in the boot for emergencies. "I've been living on the street for a while now," he continued. "I joined a street gang of other homeless dogs for protection. I was abandoned as a puppy, and I have to fend for myself. It's dangerous out there." "Yes, I understand. I'm really lucky to have such a good home, but why the robbery and the chocolate?" Rufus shifted uncomfortably before he answered. "The messenger is offering us a good future. He told us about the great Gabba who looks after all animals. He told us that we are on the streets because humans are cruel to us. He told us to show our support to the one that really looks after us. We need to do his work. We need to make humans unhappy, the way that they have made us unhappy. We need to destroy all their chocolate." "Even if it means making yourself ill?" I asked, amazed at this unbelievable idea. I could see from looking out of the window, leaving a little smear where my wet nose rubbed, that we were quite near to the vets. "Yes, only Gabba's faithful followers would risk themselves in that way," Rufus murmured dreamily. "And that's what the messenger told you," I replied. "Wow, I guess you have to feel pretty desperate to believe that." We pulled up at the vet's, and Jeff opened the back door to pick up Rufus. I jumped down onto the pavement. "Please don't say anything to the vet," pleaded Rufus. "We won't," Jeff said, staggering up the steps and through the vet's swing doors. "I'll say I left a bar of chocolate on the floor and you couldn't resist it. They wouldn't believe your story anyway." The vet took the stethoscope out of her ears and allowed the 2 earpieces to spring back around her neck. "I'm sure he will be absolutely fine now," she said, smiling at everyone. "From what you described to me, he's got rid of all the tin foil from the wrapper, and there doesn't seem to be any damage done. But chocolate can be poisonous for dogs, especially in large quantities." At this, Rufus' eyes met mine, and once again I attempted to raise an eyebrow. "But his temperature is within the normal range now, and the fluids that he has taken on board will soon help to flush everything out," she smiled again, unpeeled the surgical rubber gloves from her hands, and pushed the small thin glasses back onto her nose. "You've been a very lucky dog," she said to Rufus. Rufus just groaned in reply. "Well, just take it easy for a couple of days and try to eat simple plain food, like rice or scrambled egg, or plain cooked chicken, okay?" she said, concluding our consultation. Rufus rolled over from his side onto his feet. My person lifted him down from the vet's table and onto the floor. Rufus shook himself and stood a little unsteadily. "Thanks," Jeff called to the vet as we made our way out. "We'll make sure he rests." Jeff paid the vet's bill to the receptionist. As we made our way down the steps to the pavement, Rufus looked at us sheepishly. Thanks, both of you. You saved my life." He paused and then said very seriously, "I know that Gabba, in his greatness, thanks you too. Now, I may serve him again another day." "Oh no," I said, feeling annoyed. "Not that nonsense again. Just get in the car quickly and let's work out what we're going to do with you." "I must go back and join my gang," Rufus insisted. He was slowly moving away from us as we stood on the pavement with the car door open. "No, surely not," Jeff exclaimed. "Don't you want to change your life now you have a chance? We'll help you." "No, I must go," insisted Rufus. "I have sworn a solemn oath to my gang. We all have. They will come looking for me if they know I'm alive and I have not returned. I must go. Goodbye. Gabba will be with you." Rufus disappeared down a footpath next to the vet's. In a second he was gone from our sight. "Well," said Jeff as we got into the car, "this whole story just gets stranger and stranger." "Yes," I agreed. "What started off as a break-in at our local newsagent's quickly turned into a countrywide organised crime story." I paused to bark at a passing postman. "And to make things worse, it seems like these gangs of dogs have been sort of brainwashed into believing that they are doing the work of some individual called Gabba." Jeff nodded in agreement. I carried on ranting. "And to top it all, Gabba wants the dogs to put themselves at risk to prove that they are loyal to him. It just doesn't make sense." Pondered Jeff as he drove us home. "What's it all about? And why aren't the authorities doing something? I don't know about you, but I've got an uneasy feeling. Something big is going to happen." And that is where we will leave part 2 of Ned and the Chocolate Cheats by Mark Jarvis. I'll be back soon with the next part of this fantastic story and lots of other stories coming your way as well. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel or hit a like, that's always appreciated. Thanks for listening, guys. Goodbye.